Joe Biden has given up on the moderates. He's given up on them. He's not interested in them anymore. He is going to go with the Barack Obama 2012 strategy. Double down, triple down, quadruple, quintuple down on the base. The base, the base, the base. And the place where Joe Biden is bleeding the most is with black voters. Joe Biden is losing black voters in extraordinary ways. I mean, it's truly an incredible thing. Like that is one area where you thought that Joe Biden would be absolutely durable. But the reality is that most of the polls right now are showing that Donald Trump could win up to 20% of the black vote, which means that Joe Biden loses the election. It really is that simple. And this has been true for months and months and months. As early as November, there was a consistent trend across multiple polls that Biden was bleeding support from both Hispanic and black voters, with Trump basically running even with Biden among Hispanics and Trump running over 20% among black voters. That's a disaster for Biden, which means that Biden has to go on his 2012 tour. You remember in 2012, he went out and he declared that Mitt Romney was a vicious racist. He did a speech where he said, he's going to put you all back in chains. You remember this? It was the most racist thing ever. He suggested that Mitt Romney, the most milquetoast human being ever, was going to literally re-enslave black Americans. Well, now Joe Biden is going to just double down on trying to appease his base. So he spoke at Morehouse College. Morehouse College, of course, is a historically black college in Atlanta. And there, he basically decided that he was going to try to appeal to a base that he was losing. So the first thing that happened is that a bunch of Morehouse students turned their back on Biden as he was speaking. Not because of the economy, but because they're radicals who are in favor of Hamas. There are a small percentage of people at Morehouse who apparently, like most major universities, agree with the goal of Hamas in extirpating Israel. So here's some of the video of that.
In our lives, in the lives of the nation, we have those Saturdays to bear witness.
Now you can see there are just a couple of people who decided to turn their backs on him. But again, what this was really mostly about was Joe Biden trying to appease those people. So here was Joe Biden. One of the other speakers gets up and calls for an immediate ceasefire, leaving Hamas holding hostages and in power in the Gaza Strip. And Joe Biden confusedly, or maybe not so confusedly, starts to applaud.
It is my stance as a Morehouse man, nay, as a human being, to call for an immediate and a permanent ceasefire in the Gaza Strip.
There's Biden clapping. An immediate permanent ceasefire. That is the president of the United States clapping for leaving Hamas in power. An immediate permanent ceasefire means that all conflict ends and Hamas is left in power. That is what that means. Okay, but that was all the predicate to Biden's actual speech. So his speech was about how you need to vote for Joe Biden or democracy would be totally threatened. Also, look at how much Joe Biden panders to black people. That was legitimately what his speech was about yesterday. Pretty ridiculous display, of course, by Joe Biden, but that man is a desperate, desperate man. So he began by doing what he usually does. He started pulling out dead family members. Now, again, I'd have a lot more sympathy for this if Joe Biden didn't do it every 5 minutes. It is one of the worst things that he does as a human being. I really believe this. This is a terrible thing to do. When people suffer personal tragedies, you know what they don't tend to do? Pull it out at every public event and use it as a 2x4 to wield against political opponents or to wield in your own political favor. When something tragic happens to you in your personal life, that should not be the basis for all political conversation as president of the United States. It's actually kind of sick. Whether he was doing that in the interview with Robert Hur or whether he pulls out Beau Biden every time a member of the military dies and he pretends that Beau was killed in Iraq, he was doing that again at Morehouse. Again, this is always his play for sympathy, and it really, it's pretty yucky.
They put a young woman, first responder, on the line to say, there's an automobile accident. Tractor trailer hit your wife's car while she was Christmas shopping with her 3 children. And she, poor woman, she just blurted out, said, your wife and daughter are killed. My 13-year-old daughter are dead. And your almost 3-year-old and 4-year-old sons are badly injured. We're not sure they're going to make it either. I had the same pain 43 years later when that 4-year-old boy who survived was a grown man and a father himself, lying in another hospital bed at Walter Reed Hospital, having contracted stage 4 glioblastoma because he was a year in Iraq as a major, won the Bronze Star, living next to a burn pit. Cancer took his last breath.
Okay, again, like this is his opener. I mean, if you are relegated to re-elect me because bad things happen in my life that are terrible and tragic, not a good look. And that was just the foreplay. Wait until we get to Joe Biden's actual pandering because, man, he was a pander bear. I mean, he went hard with the pandering. We'll get to more on this in just one moment. First, my days are pretty full between the show, being a dad, various other responsibilities. Well, if I don't have a good night's sleep, I can't keep up with my day. That's why I appreciate my Helix mattress. Helix harnesses years of mattress expertise to offer a truly elevated sleep experience. The Helix Elite Collection includes 6 different mattress models, each tailored for specific sleep positions and firmness preferences. If you're nervous about buying a mattress online, well, you don't really have to be because Helix has a sleep quiz that matches your body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress. Why would you buy a mattress made for somebody else? I took that Helix quiz. I was matched with a firm but breathable mattress. I love it. My wife loves it. We are big Helix fans at the Shapiro household. Plus, Helix has that 10-year warranty. You can try it out for 100 nights risk-free. They'll even pick it up for you if you don't love it, but you're going to love it. Helix's financing options and flexible payment plans make it so a great night's sleep is never far away. Helix is currently offering up to 30% off all mattress orders plus 2 free pillows for my listeners. Just head on over to helixsleep.com/Ben. It's their best offer yet. It's not going to last long. helixsleep.com/Ben. Go check them out right now. With Helix, better sleep starts right now. That's helixsleep.com/Ben. Joe Biden was at Morehouse College trying to pander to black voters because he realizes, like Barack Obama circa 2012, he's going to lose votes from the last time around. So he needs the base to turn out. The problem is he ain't Barack Obama and he ain't good at this. So that wasn't going to stop him. I mean, this was pander hard to pander harder. So here he was pandering to the men of Morehouse, talking about he has so many Morehouse men in the White House. People aren't going to vote for you because of this, Joe. No one cares.
I got more Morehouse men in the White House telling me what to do than I know what to do. You all think I'm kidding, don't you? You know I'm not.
No one ever thinks you're kidding.
That's the best thing that's happened to me.
That's the very best thing that has happened to you? Really? I thought the best thing was when the night nurse comes in and cleans you up in the morning. Or maybe it's the fact that every morning someone wakes you up and reminds you you're president. That must be pretty nice. So Joe Biden says that there are tons and tons of Morehouse men working in his administration. According to multiple reports, there are 0 people who are graduates of Morehouse working at any sort of high level inside his administration. Count them, 0. Apparently, the last serious Morehouse grad was a person named Jamal Simmons, who is the former communications director for Kamala Harris. Former, as in no longer works there. In any case, he didn't stop there. He talked about George Floyd, because if there's one thing that Joe Biden knows, it's that when a black person commits a series of crimes over his long and storied criminal career, and then ends up claiming he can't breathe before he's ever taken out of a car, and then a cop is convicted for his murder, and then Joe Biden goes out and says that it was a racist murder, despite the fact that no racial implications were ever made during the trial. That's something black people love to hear about. Here's Joe Biden.
I stood up for George Floyd's family to help create a country. We don't need to have that talk with your son or grandson as they get pulled over.
Don't worry. He also lied about voting procedure in Georgia. So there's been this lie that Democrats have been promoting that Georgia is attempting to ban black voters from voting. It's a full-scale lie. It's been promulgated ever since Stacey Abrams lost her gubernatorial election and then denied she'd lost her gubernatorial election by saying there was voter suppression. There is no voter suppression in Georgia. There is certainly not voter suppression of the black vote in Georgia, which is always disproportionate to the black population of Georgia, at least in the last few election cycles, and was in 2020 for Joe Biden. But he's trying to claim that in Georgia, they tried to keep people from getting water in voting lines in order to somehow get black people not to vote. This is a lie. It just says that if you're a person wearing a Joe Biden shirt, you can't go and supply water to people in line as a form of bribery. That's what the law is about. They can set up water stations all throughout the line. In any case, here is Joe Biden fibbing, but of course that's what he does. He's a liar.
Today in Georgia, they won't allow water to be available to you while you wait in line to vote in an election. What in the hell is that all about?
What in the hell is that? Well, it's about you lying because that's not true. Don't worry. The pandering didn't stop there. He then suggested that he had found ways around the Supreme Court. So he says that he tried to relieve all student loan debt, and the Supreme Court said no. So Captain Democracy over here said, I just ignored the Supreme Court, and I found ways around it. Now, if Donald Trump said, I found ways around the Supreme Court to do what I want, all we would get is people screaming about tyranny nonstop. But here's Joe Biden just saying the thing.
When the Supreme Court told me I couldn't, I found two other ways to do it.
He found two other ways to do it around the Supreme Court. Then he lied again about how there was a national effort to ban books across the country when the books that are being quote unquote banned mean that books in, for example, kindergarten libraries should not include genderqueer. But Joe Biden's very opposed to that. He's going to try again pretend that basically Republicans are a bunch of people who don't want anyone to ever read Toni Morrison again or something.
I never thought when I was graduating in 1968, as your honoree just was, we talked about, I never thought I'd be a president at a time when there's a national effort to ban books, not to write history, but to erase history. They don't see you in the future of America, but they're wrong. To me, we make history, not erase it.
That is so unbelievable coming from a man whose entire party is dedicated to ripping down statues at this point and replacing them with statues of George Floyd. It's an unbelievable statement from a man whose entire party right now is backing people who on college campuses are spray painting and graffitiing statues of George Washington. But again, the pander is very strong with him. He didn't stop there, by the way. He then, after the Morehouse College speech, proceeded to go to a Detroit NAACP dinner where he declared that the entire government was going to be structured around DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, which, of course, is the Ibram X. Kendi theory that all disparities in life are the fault of America's discriminatory white supremacist system.
Look, the values of diversity, equity, and inclusion are the core strength of America. That's why I'm proud to have the most diverse administration in history, to tap into the full talents of our country. I promised you when I was president, I would have an administration that looked like America. We have more African Americans. We have more women. We have more minorities in our administration than any other administration in all of history. That's why we're doing so damn well. Folks, I never imagined that in 2024, there'd be folks waiting to ban books in America. What in God's name is that about?
Oh, God, he's so tiresome.
Not only that, they're trying to erase Black history, literally. They're wrong. They don't understand. Black history is American history. Not a joke.
Not a joke. Oh, God, he's a joke. How many times can you say not a joke after something that's not a joke? Like, we all know it's not a joke. The only joke on stage is you, sir. Erase Black history. Now, even members of the left are tired of this. So there's MSNBC's Charles Coleman basically saying, yeah, no, we understand. He's just pandering at this point.
There's also a part where he talked about creating an America where, referencing police reform and George Floyd, which I don't know was the appropriate tenor in terms of to invoke the notion of George Floyd at that point in this conversation on their commencement. I understand it. Again, I don't know that that was the right move. He talked about creating an America where Black parents don't have to have the talk with their children.
Right.
As a Black man, I have mixed feelings about that and the usage of that, because the question becomes, I appreciate the policy. I appreciate the reference and the nod to Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. But when you start campaigning on that stage in this moment, and using this type of language, the question for me becomes, all right, so what are you going to do?
Okay, well, the answer is he's not going to do anything. But he's going to pander an awful, awful lot. And that basically is Joe Biden's plan for this campaign. Pander to the radical base. There ain't enough of them who love Joe Biden to get out. He's got a serious structural problem in this election cycle. He has a serious structural problem that Donald Trump has every capacity and ability to take advantage of if he acts with alacrity and if he acts with some level of acuity. Are you tired of the lies and the twists of the mainstream media talking points? Yeah. Me too. Join me in my newest series, Fact, where I dismantle and bring truth to this tiring mainstream agenda.